This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
We're joined now by Congressmember Khanna. He's one of the co-sponsors, along with Republican Thomas Massie of Kentucky, of a rare bipartisan bill that would require the release of the full Epstein files. All 212 House Democrats are expected to vote in favor of the measure that would compel the Justice Department to release the Epstein files, meaning just 6 Republicans would need to join them to pass the resolution. So far, 4 Republicans have signed on. They are Kentucky Congressmember Thomas Massie, Georgia's Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, and Lauren Boebert of Colorado. Meanwhile, President Trump has turned up pressure on Republicans to let the story die.
Congressmember Khanna of California is a member of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, which on Tuesday released more than 33,000 pages of records related to the Justice Department's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Congressmember Khanna is also vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congressmember, welcome back to Democracy Now! So you heard President Trump, 1, calling this a Democratic hoax, and number 2, saying we've already released thousands of documents. Is it true that the number of documents that are released is something like 3% of the Epstein files? And talk about what your bill is all about.
Well, it's actually less than 1%. There are 300 gigabytes of data, according to the FBI, and they've released less than 1 gigabyte. And of that 1 gigabyte, 97% is public. So 3% is the new information of 1%. Basically, they have not released anything. But this is not about politics. I wish that every American could hear the survivors yesterday. They were in tears. They were reliving being raped, being assaulted at the age of 13, at the age of 14. They were asked to recruit their friends at junior high schools and high schools to come and meet with Jeffrey Epstein and face sexual assault. They were asked to recruit these girls to be farmed out to other rich and powerful men. And all they're asking this country, all they're asking progressives, independents, moderates, MAGA supporters, is to release the files so they can have some closure. Some of them do not have access to these files themselves. They need these files to help them remember what happened. And I hope this country can come together. Our bill calls for the full release of the files. We have 216 signatures. We need 2 more people to sign it to force a vote and get these files released.
And Representative Khanna, if you could say, I mean, not only was very little new information released, as you pointed out, but also a lot of information was redacted from the documents. Do you know what kind of information that was?
Well, some of it that was redacted was to protect the victims, but some of the information that was redacted has to do with financial information. But the bigger issue is that most of what was sent was already in the public domain. What we did not get were the financial transactions. What we did not get were the interviews with the other men who covered up Epstein and Maxwell's crimes. What we did not get is any of the investigations into other men who may have participated in the sex trafficking. So it's very clear what we need. The victims' lawyers have seen the files, and they have asked for those files to become public for the American public.
So let's go to your co-sponsor of the bill, Kentucky Republican Congressmember Thomas Massie, questioned by reporters after your news conference. The reporters blocked the view of him on camera.
They're being threatened. I mean, look, I've got $2 million of ads running against me back in my district, and it's funded by 3 billionaires. One of them's in Epstein's black book. I mean, this is what happens. Your consultants, your political consultants will abandon you when the White House gets mad at you. The Speaker will block all of your bills. They'll shut down your fundraising. This isn't political, but it is. I mean, the opposition to this is very political.
What's your impression of what's your president of the White House seeming to whip against this vote so actively?
I have no idea why they're doing it, other than I do believe they're trying to protect some people who are rich and powerful and connected, like Republican donors.
Are you personally worried at all by the White House's threats against you or Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No, I'm the
threat that's already happened. I mean, they're already running $2 million of ads against me. It's 3 billionaires, 2 hedge fund managers. One of them is in Epstein's black book.
Who are these billionaires?
John Paulson is one of them. Paul Singer is another. And Miriam Adelson is the other. But the one who's in Epstein's black book is John Paulson. What conversations have you had? By the way, those are max donors to the Speaker of the House. They're max donors to the NRCC. They're max donors to the RNC. They're max donors to Trump's campaign. These are 7- and 8-figure donors. And those are among the people who don't want these files released.
So that was Republican Congressmember Massie of Kentucky, who's joining you, Congressmember Ro Khanna, in co-sponsoring this bill to release the Epstein files. And he's making very serious charges. He is saying that the people who are funding a campaign to unseat him, like billionaire John Paulson, were actually involved with Epstein. Can you tell us more?
Well, the reality is he's getting enormous special interest money thrown at him from a number of places. First, of course, Donald Trump, his entire political team is putting millions of dollars to defeat him. Second, he has told me that a number of the billionaires that are funding against him may be implicated in the Epstein files. He doesn't have direct evidence, but there is certainly circumstantial evidence around that. And third, he's got AIPAC that is pouring money against him because he has spoken up for human rights in Gaza. But this whole issue is about whether the rich and powerful can get away with basically impunity in this country, or whether we're going to have a system of justice that holds rich and powerful people accountable.
So can you tell us more how this bill operates, the idea that it stays open until you get the 6 Republicans, and the role of the House Speaker Johnson, who was there 2 days ago at that round table? It wasn't sponsored by Comer, the head of oversight, as he is doing Trump's bidding. But both Democrats and Republicans were there. Nancy Mace, the congressmember for South Carolina, walked out crying. She said sweating, having a complete anxiety attack. She, a rape victim herself, and she is signing on to the call for the Epstein files release. But the role that Johnson is playing, can they subvert this bill? And what does it mean to say you're keeping it open for days, weeks, until you get the number of Congress members you need to have the files released?
Well, we need 218 signatures. We have 216. We have to get 2 more Republicans on the bill. And we're in talks with at least 10 who are strongly considering it. I'm very confident we're going to get to the 218 number. But the petition can be opened as long as Congress is in session for this Congress up till 2026. And so I am confident, though, by the end of this month, we will hit the 218 number. After we hit the 218 number, there's 7 days before the House must have a vote. And so I expect a vote by early October on the full release of the Epstein files.
And then one more question on Johnson. I mean, he shut down Congress days before it was supposed to end this summer because this was the main issue in Congress. Then he starts again the day after Labor Day. Congress resumes. It's the first issue on the agenda. He certainly bills himself as a family values man, and yet you have one survivor after another talking about being sex trafficked, raped, sexually abused when they were 13, when they were 14, not only in some cases by Jeffrey Epstein, but by Ghislaine Maxwell as well, who was just sent to minimum security prison camp after she talked with Trump's former private lawyer, who's now the Deputy Attorney General. How does he justify not joining you in this call for the release of the files?
Well, it's unfortunate because I think he's morally conflicted. He heard the survivors. It was emotional. I mean, on the press conference, they were in tears. In the round table, they were in tears. They're reliving the worst trauma. And at the same time, he's getting tremendous pressure from Donald Trump. And he's basically chosen to do what Donald Trump wants, not what the base of MAGA wants, not what many of his members want. And in this case, not what is morally right. And how do we know what is morally right here? I have a simple test. Let's listen to what the survivors want. They were asked over and over again at the press conference, do they want the full release of the files? Do they support my and Massie's bill to do that? And they said, yes, that's what they need for justice, for closure. I wish this country would come together on that. They were asking the country to come together. They weren't going against Speaker Johnson. They weren't going against President Trump. They were pleading with them as citizens of this country who were abused, who were abandoned. Stand up for us. Stand up for basic decency. And that's the spirit with which Massie and I are trying to convince our colleagues. Take the politics out of this. This is a moral issue.
And Alex Acosta, his role, the former U.S. attorney in Florida who became the one of the cabinet members of President Trump's first term, had to quit because of, they call the sweetheart deal, the non-prosecution agreement of Epstein, where he would go to sleep in the jail for about 13 months. And then the day he could go to his office, where apparently he sexually abused one girl, one woman after another during that whole time. And then over the next years before he was indicted again in 2019, raped or sexually abused what's believed to be possibly up to 1,000 women and girls. Alex Acosta and his testimony before your committee.
Well, what we need to understand is why. Why was there such a cover-up when these girls were going to the police, when they were going to law enforcement and saying, help us? And Jeffrey Epstein, according to the survivors, was saying, well, I know presidents, I know foreign leaders, I know business leaders, nothing is going to happen. There are two things we have to get at. First, who are the other rich and powerful men who may have assaulted and raped these young girls? Second, who are the rich and powerful men who covered up for Epstein so he did not get prosecuted? The survivors were not even consulted in that initial sweetheart plea deal. And from Acosta, what we really want to get at is, why was this system so rigged? Who were the rich and powerful influences that were corrupting the process?
And finally, Congressmember Khanna, before we conclude, we wanted to ask you about another issue. You've joined more than a dozen House Democrats in signing on to a letter urging the Trump administration to recognize a Palestinian state. If you could talk about that, together with your response to the Trump administration facing growing criticism for suspending visas for Palestinian passport holders, visas to come into the U.S., including officials meant to attend the UN General Assembly later this month.
I am leading a letter calling on the United States to officially recognize the Palestinian state. It would be a Palestinian state with democratic elections, with no Hamas, that recognizes the state of Israel. It is the true state solution that 147 other countries support, that France now supports, that UK supports, that Canada supports, that Australia supports. And all the letter does is call on the United States to join every other major democracy and the vast majority of other nations in recognizing a Palestinian state. This is important when Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, and Smotrich are literally trying to erase the Palestinian identity. They are putting more settlements in the West Bank. They are pushing people out of Gaza. They are killing civilians. J Street has endorsed our letter. We have 24 signatures, but the reality is AIPAC is strongly opposing it, and this is going to be a fight over the next couple of weeks. I believe that if you are a progressive Democrat, you should be on this letter. This is the time for the United States to recognize a Palestinian state.
And finally, do you support an arms embargo against Israel? And the number of AIPAC-funded, in the past or even present, Congress members who are changing their position and saying they do support an arms embargo, especially when they go back to their districts and their constituents are demanding this.
Yes, I do. And you're right. 27 out of the senators, the majority of Democratic senators, supported Senator Sanders' bill to stop military sales to Israel that are being used to kill civilians. And I'm on Delia Ramirez's bill, which does that in the House. It goes beyond Senator Sanders' amendments and says, if we are sending any military weapons that would be used to kill civilians, we need to stop doing that. I hope that progressive Democrats listening, the progressives listening around the country will ask their members to both join my letter and join Delia Ramirez's bill. It is the most consequential thing we can do to stop what is going on in Gaza and to recognize the Palestinian humanity. There's a famine there. They're denying visas. It is a moral stain on the United States because of our complicity.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.